Hey, what do you call it? Really? And that's why you gotta always change your canisters. Yeah, the whole thing. The whole thing went out. So anyway, yeah, one of the pitfalls of these C02, home defense weapons, if you don't consistently, and then you can have that. So look at that, you're fucked. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? That's happened to me twice. Matter of fact, I remember the first time the people stalking my back pasture were talking about shooting me in the face, and I had to go out there to feed the cats, and I was actually working in the garage trying to finish up some of the plumbing out there, and then the door was open so the dog could come and go, and then I could hear them, the three of them. It was a man and a woman, and then a younger, I don't know, teenager, maybe he was a young adult, and they kept talking, oh yeah, when I shoot this, we're gonna have to run. And and I have the door open, and out there I have a door with like a window, so I can see their reflection, and they're stalking my trench, right? And they keep talking about shooting me, and I'm like, motherfucker, as soon as I come out here, I'm gonna get shot in the face, right? And everybody wants to test out their new fucking pellet gun or C02 rifle, right? Because, apparently, yeah. Anyway, so that happens. That same shit happens, right? And I'm like, motherfucker. And I was stuck out there for like 15 minutes. And the crazy thing is that was the night that the sheriffs, one of the sergeants, ordered a flyover, because I guess the neighbor across the street, I was out there with the flashlight, and I was like, talking to them like, hey, get out of here, because you guys are risking, I'm under surveillance, because one of the meth dealers tried to convince the DEA that apparently I was the guy. Like, show me one fucking knock that would even suggest that I was out here flipping dope, right? But, it's easier to believe that guy, especially since I had the fucking, $500,000 assets to seize, right? So I was hot. The property was hot, They told them, they got the DEA, the ATF, and the FBI all convinced that I was this guy, right? And that's why the sheriffs would never show up for me, right? But then apparently one of the neighbors called the sheriffs because I could hear it. I could hear the guy, right? And they do a flyover. That's it. Fly right over. They fly right on the ridge, the fence line too. And when I finally managed to, get enough balls, because I'm sick of, being stuck in there for 15 minutes, I start power walking. I'm like, man, fuck this. And I grab this fence board and I chuck it like a Spartan. It spiraled too. The lady was like, right? I've never seen somebody chuck a board like that before, right? I go inside, I go get another CO2. And keep in mind, it's not like I went in there to come back out, right? I left the keys, I left this thing. I didn't need those fucking, motherfuckers jumping my fence and trying to squat in my back room or some shit, right? So I had to go back out there, get this, lock the door, and and I didn't have a phone. So I couldn't call anybody. That's why I was stuck in there for 15 minutes. I couldn't call anybody. So I called the sheriffs and I was like, hey, you just had a helicopter fly over on the people on my fence line. Where's the units? Why haven't you dispatched any deputies, right? Oh, well, I don't know. The sergeant called that. And I says, and what was the results, right? You didn't use the floodlight and there was 3 people back there. Well, we don't need the floodlight. We just use the IR. I says, I know. So why didn't you dispatch units? Oh, well, we don't really know, sir. We can't really. I says, what was the results? Because there was at least 3. Well, we can't divulge that information. You're going to have to apply for the paperwork to get the report, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, why would you send a helicopter but not send units? That probably cost way more, unless they were in the area and it was convenient. So then, again, why didn't you fucking show up?